Hi, I'm Bill Arnold. Thank you for listening to this podcast. There are many more podcasts available at myfaithradio.com. Your support makes this possible. Thank you. And now the host that's allowed to use the copier, but only with supervision.
Oh, don't you know, it's the Bill Arnold Show. It's Bill.
And a warm welcome to the Bill Arnold Show. I am so glad that I've got my friends around the table for another episode of The Counselor's Corner. I've got Dr. Marcus Bachmann, Jenita Pace, and Todd Mulliken all here with me. Welcome, everyone.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Bill.
Good to be
Nice
here.
to have you here. Today's topic is agreeing to disagree. So if you've agreed to disagree, have you agreed or disagreed? That's my philosophical question to get things started. Okay,
speechless.
you know when people say, well, let's just agree to disagree. Have you agreed or disagreed?
Agreed.
Oh, good. All right. I thought maybe we'd have more,
That's all we got.
more
now.
material.
Is this a 30-minute
It's
show?
a 60-minute show, so we're in deep trouble right now.
Okay.
You know, in psychology, we oftentimes say it depends, right?
That's where we
Don't
go.
we go there, don't we, a lot?
That's right.
Yes.
Tell
Because
me
it kind of
more.
depends on that situation, don't you think? Like,
It kind of does.
yeah, I mean,
but-
some of us maybe, like for me, I'm more conflict avoidant, so I might, like I always say, speak without offending, listen without defending. Once in a while, agree to disagree, and then come back and own your own part. So that's the 4 steps I talk about with conflict resolution.
No, just a minute. Wait, Todd, why are you conflict avoidant? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, you know,
Here we go.
We don't got enough time for that.
I think the listeners would like to know.
I think they would too.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
give us a reason.
Yeah.
Well, you know, my struggle is I want to make peace, but I also don't want to keep peace. Right? So I want to be a peacemaker. As Jesus
So
says.
you are a people pleaser or you're not?
Yes. I'm fully a people pleaser, fully embracing all of that, all the strengths and weaknesses, and fully embracing. See, when I'm really like in a defensive posture, I'll say, well, I just don't want to, kind of create more messes. When I'm in a healthy, wise mind posture in Christ, I'll say, what peace means is actually healthily mediated conflict. So that's kind of like a, so.
Pretty good answer, don't you think,
Yeah,
Marcus?
so this can work for you. You
It
can
can.
make it work for you.
So for me, I might agree to disagree just to avoid the conflict, but sometimes, like truth tellers, once in a while they need to learn how to agree to disagree. Does that make sense? So that's why when I
Yes.
hear you say that, I go, well, it kind of depends. I don't know. What do you think, Jenita?
Well, when that first question came out, I thought there's so often times when people in my office, especially I work with a lot of, kids and parents, and the disagreement actually isn't about the disagreement. It's about what it means. So like when you have, just a few weeks ago, I had a parent upset with the daughter for dyeing her hair purple. And when we got down to it, it was a difference in what that meant. It's an assigned meaning, whatever it means to that person. So for the kid, it was I'm artistic and I'm expressing I'm an artist. And for the parent, it was when I see that, I don't think professional and you're trying to get a job and you're trying to make connections. And so, again, when you really boil it down, it's not about the hair. It's about the message, what it means. And so oftentimes I'm actually more interested in what does it mean to the person? What's the assigned meaning of it?
It's a good next step to take, right?
Yeah.
And we can choose the subjects, the people that we decide, is this really worth the battle? It doesn't have to be. To me, it's more about the relationship. It's the other person has value and is important. And if I'm understanding that, I'm communicating that, first and foremost, I feel like the argument, the debate, isn't first and foremost. It's you. Let me understand you. Let me understand why. Why'd you color your hair purple? As a counselor, I'd say that's kind of cool.
Right.
But I'm not supposed to give my opinion, right?
Actually, it was more of a red.
Okay.
Red. Blazing red. No.
Okay.
And yeah, exactly. And I think isn't it beautiful when you actually start figuring out not what are we disagreeing about, but why?
Yeah.
You come to the foundation of it, which is your identity. Now we're talking about something that's so much more valuable
Yes.
than the actual topic.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's really good. And Marcus, I thought you were referring to something really important there too, is the spirit of curiosity. So am I going into that situation with the spirit of curiosity, which for me is right behind empathy as one of the greatest traits we can have.
Yeah.
Am I curious about why I'm disagreeing with you and what your position is, or am I more needing just to be right? And I think that's a big deal.
I think, Todd, curiosity is a way of loving people. Mm-hmm. What are you about and why? And tell me more. And the emphasis is on that is so interesting to me, who you are. Mm-hmm. So give me your thoughts and your ideas and your opinions. I think that breaks down so many barriers.
Yeah, so disarming, isn't it?
Yeah.
So disarming.
Yeah.
And obviously, so Bill, I don't know what you think, but it feels like we're rooted in Christ. We know what is true. We're saved, redeemed, accepted. Life is hard. We're in a battle, am I operating from that place of contentment, even if I'm in a really difficult disagreement with somebody who sees things very differently? So, yeah, I also want to just say I think sometimes it's okay to agree to disagree. My wife and I, after 38 years, still don't always agree on financial issues, on parenting issues, even though our girls are, in their 30s or whatever. But we're not always going to agree, and that doesn't mean that's the end of the world either. So both people can have a really strong view that kind of makes sense, and as a third party can look at it and take perspective of both and see so I think there's a spot for agreeing to disagree too, but I think it's about trying to understand the other person's position.
So, Bill, not that you're in charge of the show, but here it goes. So,
Our guest today is Bill Arnold.
I'll be in the green room if you need me.
Wyatt, please bring her back. Okay. So Todd, when you and your wife get to that point of how to spend money or whatever the case is, what happens with that? We agree to disagree, where we still have to decide on a financial situation here.
Yeah, and we just have a tally sheet, and whose turn is it? I'm just kidding.
I hope she's listening.
I thought it was who's head of the home here.
Yeah,
okay.
Right. Yeah, no, I think it's kind of realizing we're going to have to make a decision, of course, but is our spirit one of compromising, or is our spirit needing to be right? Is our spirit one of trying to find the 50-yard line, and also am I also willing to acknowledge I think their perspective makes more sense, and can I just be comfortable enough with myself to know she's got that one. It just makes more sense.
Yeah.
But we already know ahead of time I'm untreated ADHD, so I'm very impulsive, hey, God will provide, yay, let's go. And she's whoa, grew up on a farm, frugal, yay, and I love that about her. So we're not generally not going to agree very much.
I love that. Isn't that great?
So we'll figure it out.
Yeah, or with how every parent has their thing. And for Tim, it was curfew, but for me, it was homework. And I would find myself getting irrationally angry. And so it's important for me to slow down and be what about this is making me more upset than my spouse? Because obviously it might be about me. And
now, wait. Was this homework for yourself or for your child?
For the children.
Okay.
Yes. In fact, we adopted Matthew when he was 13, and I remember hearing Carter say to Matthew, buddy, the worst thing you can do in this house is lie about not doing your homework. Dad hates lying, and Mom hates not doing your homework. That is the epicenter of wrath in this house. Because for Tim, it was always tell the truth, be on time, and for me, it was do homework. But realizing that for me, not doing homework meant someday you were never going to go to college, and you were never going to get a job, and you were going to. So I was reacting as if this was the end of their lives, when really, if they failed Spanish, the thing that would happen is they'd retake it. We'd all be okay. Just didn't feel that way to me. So then as we're parenting, helping each other ask the question, what about this is really, really hard for you?
Yeah.
And sitting with that before you talk to your spouse about it, making sure that you've examined yourself.
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way.
Okay. So we're going to return to the Bill Arnold Show right now.
I'm pretty sure this is the Bill Arnold Show. What are you laughing at, Wyatt?
He's just wheezing over here. He's loving it. Marcus, is he all right?
Just
Yeah, he's fine.
loving it.
Sorry. So let's talk about agreeing to disagree. And if I have a conviction and I believe it's true, I'm not going to abandon this conviction just because you disagree with me. So how do I humbly stand my ground and maintain a relationship?
It's absolutely true. If you have a conviction, I mean, let's face it, there's a difference between those of us that are arguing about the Packers and Vikings versus heaven or hell.
Right.
And so let's make sure we are grounded in what really is important, because there's a lot of things that we can just say it's not worth it. But there are essential truths, and I think we need to stand firmly and say, in a kind way, I'm curious, I'm interested in what you have to say. Your opinions have value to you, and are just have value. But I have a different perspective, and here's my reasons. I stand on God's word that there is a heaven and hell, and each one of us have to make that decision in our life. Now, we can say that in a way that's more attractive and kinder, but we can stand on truth and still listen to the other person.
And I think Corinthians 13 is so powerful, where it says if we're not speaking in love, then we are basically noise. I mean, so you could say the most truthful, scripturally based argument, but if it's not wrapped and delivered in love, like we are taught, then you are just noise. And that's incredible to me. I think Jesus' statement that everything hangs on loving God and loving others is the core. So when I'm in conflict with someone about a deep conviction, I feel like that is a great opportunity to examine what it's going to look like to love this person in front of me. Because my reaction isn't love. It's I'm going to fight for my conviction. And that's hard. That's really hard.
Fighting doesn't work well. And the louder I get doesn't work well. And I have to think in terms of, am I winning the argument for the sake of winning the argument, or am I influencing? Am I treating that person in a way that says you have value and worth? And so when we walk away from this, I don't think a lot of people are going to walk away with their staunch opinions about a subject and say, "Oh, I've changed my mind." I don't think that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But we can influence in ways and understand, again, why are they stuck here? And I got to watch my own spirit. Why am I starting to raise my voice? Why am I starting to get, my blood pressure is starting to rise? Wait a minute. I see Jesus as being able to speak in ways, ask questions in a gentle and yet strong, truthful way.
The only time he wasn't like that is who was he with usually? When he wasn't like that, he was usually with the Pharisees or people that were know-it-alls, I'm not judging the Pharisees. They had their own stuff going on, right? But, so I think I got to make sure I don't come off like a know-it-all. But to Bill's great point, I need to be convicted. And Marcus, like you're saying, I need to be comfortable enough with speaking that truth, but also not lording it over. Because I want them to leave the argument feeling heard and seen and noticed, but also like I'm very convicted about what I think. Versus leaving the argument like, he's just a know-it-all and kind of pompous and believes in heaven, and I don't.
Yeah.
Big deal. Those are big deals. Those are big moments for us in our faith, I think.
I think that's why pastors who give a message and reveal themselves as, I am one of you. I've gone through hard times. I suffer. I'm vulnerable to sin. And yet Jesus shows us this way so that people can relate.
It's huge.
That's such a difference.
Yeah.
And when we do that in conversations versus being up here, humility, curiosity, loving people, these are essentials in this whole topic of agreeing to disagree.
Yeah, I had this spiritual leader some years ago that I was really struggling to respect and show him love. And I was wrestling with God one night with all the reasons why I had a right to be mad. I had submitted all my reasons. They were really good.
Did you write them down?
Oh, yeah. There you go. And I felt like God was was convicting me of what if you loved everyone in your world as much as you love your kids? What would it be like for you? I thought that's a deep dive because, my kids, I would, no matter what they do, I'm going to be loyal and find a way. And I want to see them, and I want to see them succeed and I want to root for them. And then for God to make me realize, like, that's how he feels about every person. They're his kids. And so...
As long as they do their homework.
That's right. Yeah, listen, God, that's the one thing. Right. But it was so, eye-opening. So now when I'm struggling with someone, I think about how much I love Carter and Matthew, and I think, can I superimpose that on this person in front of me?
Love that.
And why is the command to love? I mean, it's. Do we have that much bandwidth to be loving everyone? I mean, I wish sometimes it was smile at people. I can do that. But to love, I mean, that takes a lot more energy. But that's the command that Jesus gave us. Love one another.
Yeah.
It's just a tall order. I don't have any follow-up comment on that.
But I think it's important to realize, we start our day and we're not going to love every single person that we see in the sense of a deep love and a deep conversation, because no man or woman has that time or that ability to do that, I think. But I do think that God calls us to specifically in our dailiness to encounter, and oftentimes I love the surprises that God will allow us to have conversations. And that person may come from a different culture, a different backdrop, a different worldview. But I can have a 10-minute conversation, and this can go in a beautiful way, in a way that's meaningful.
I want to be humble enough to question my own conclusions while maintaining the relationship, because that's the most important part.
That's so good.
Who wants to win a relationship and then win an argument, lose a relationship?
Yeah.
Not interested. That's where I'm probably more of a people pleaser, Todd. I'm a little bit like you. That's why we sit next to each other in the studio.
It does feel
that
good
and you bring us complimentary beverages.
There is that.
That are mandatory now.
He emailed us.
They're
What's
definitely
your order
mandatory.
today?
Bill gave me an affirmation today, though.
What'd I say?
Thanks for bringing the drinks.
I did say that, didn't I? Yeah.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, that was nice.
Well, nice. I think we'll take our first break, and you're listening to the Counselor's Corner with Todd Mulliken, Jenita Pace, and Marcus Bachmann. If you have a comment or question like the one I just got, I'm giving Bill Arnold's show host the nickname Dr. Conundrum after his inspiring opening. I love it. That's probably when I said, when you agree to disagree, have you agreed or disagreed?
Like a riddle.
It was like a little bit of an enigma. Yeah. I won't bring that up again. All right. We'll be back in 90 seconds. If you're like me, you love that Faith Radio app, and it makes it possible to stream shows wherever and whenever. My favorite things to do. So when you listen to the Faith Radio app, you can hear conversations that you're looking for or that you love on demand. So you can listen live, you can replay your favorite conversations, and find new programs that you will love. So find hope in every moment right when you need it. You can text the word app to 877-933-2484, and then just follow the link or search Faith Radio Network in your app store. We're back with the Counselor's Corner. Todd, Jenita, and Marcus. How do we agree to disagree and keep the relationship at peace? We want to give you some tools today. We want to cultivate people to feel empowered by their thoughts and beliefs within a Christian context. We want people to have convictions and stand up for them, be heard, and be validated. And I think that's very empowering. You're all nodding yes.
So for me as a pleaser, I feel like my next step in those delicate discussions, Bill, is to be honest and stay in it. Because I will tend to not share something if it might cause more problems, and then just kind of avoid it and pray it up. It's just kind of like, ooh. So my goal is just to be honest. The scriptures are clear. Love must be sincere. Romans 12:9. I've often tell myself, honesty today prevents problems tomorrow, might cause a problem now, but my goal is just to try to be authentic. And I find like for the flighters or the pleasers, that's a lot of our battle is we don't, well, if I say this, then he will do that. If I think that, then she'll do this. And it's just not worth it. So I'll just kind of whoop. And that's where you bring up the agree to disagree is kind of a passivity and not helpful. But I think it's a big step for people like me to try to just stay honest, stay in it. Don't win it, but stay in it. And be curious and, trust that the Holy Spirit's comforting you in those delicate moments. So I don't know what you guys think the next step is for the person who needs to be right is, but...
Well, I, on the other hand, have a tendency toward saying, this is the truth, and what's wrong with you? and obviously that's gotten me into a lot of trouble. But I think, if I can just put a blanket statement here goes, which is unfair, I think counselors, as we as counselors are typically interested in the other person more, asking questions to the why, understanding, the other person before we even say our thoughts and opinions. So I think we're trained to do that. I think that's effective in many ways. But I also believe that truth spoken in a loving way has a lot. I mean, I don't want to see someone who's ready to fall off the cliff and ask them how they feel about that. I think there's a point where we say, have you thought about this? And, I value your opinion. I'd like to share with you some thoughts that I have. And there's a way that we can speak the truth.
But now you're talking about steps for the truth teller that are really healthy. I mean, you're speaking that in a really interactive way. You're not interrogating.
Yeah.
You're interacting.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Relationship is important there.
Right. So that was beautiful.
Well, one thing God's really been working with me on, especially this week, it's ironic we're having this conversation, is I have a tendency to, when I see something that's important, I decide I need to talk about it right away to get a quote off my chest. And realizing that doesn't necessarily mean that the minute I see it is the minute to say it. And to back up and to spend time praying and, analyzing my heart, analyzing my motives and my attitude, and then actually requesting from God a window, a moment, maybe when they'll ask me what I think.
What was that line you said? See it, say it?
So, yeah, I think that's how I've usually been. Like, just you
If
see
I
it,
see
and then, and then I'm going to say it. Yeah. Like the airport,
Right.
you say something. And I took that to heart, concerned, say it. And,
But that's a development of patience for you, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And what a gentle understanding that God has for us to have patience with ourselves and with others.
Yeah, because that's where I really struggle is I feel like, hey, I noticed this, so let me just bless you with my idea. And so it's really, though, like I said, even when I see something that's a cliff, then making sure I'm not speaking out of fear, but I'm not intervening or saying something because I'm scared, but because I've spent time meditating on my heart, my attitude, and then praying for them before they hear it, that they're ready.
But I think sometimes that can happen quickly. Doesn't have to be a day of meditating or 3 days. If we pray in our counseling sessions, all of us, that God would reveal to us how can we minister in a way that's effective. And so, sometimes it's 1.2 seconds. And we may hold our statement, but God reveals to us how we can share. And that's true for conversations for our listening audience. Help me to say, hold back my convictions in a way that says this is the timing can be everything.
Yeah, timing, for sure.
And I do think if we come out too hot and we realize it, the circle back and as good leaders, confessing that to the person we're having that agree to disagree moment with where we came out hot, that circle back is really important to close that loop. And
how effective that is. I just realized that the way that I shared my convictions, I think came across so strong without keeping who you are in mind. And I care about who you are. So I apologize for being this strong, and really even asking, would you forgive me for coming across that strong? Can we continue the conversation? That's huge to say, understand that in our conversations. Because I can definitely pull the trigger, and ouch, that doesn't help,
Yeah.
That's an interesting point, Marcus, because if you're flooded, which happens when you get into an argument or a disagreement, you can bring out a hurtful comment or a caustic comment instead of being curious and have engagement.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you're in trouble, right? Because you came out with that line.
What's wrong with you?
Right. Right.
And then there's 3 trauma responses. One of them is that kind of hyperarousal, big toe to the top of your head, you're just lit up.
Yep.
But this other one is avoidance numbing, where you shut down, you freeze. And if I freeze, I might be thinking that very same thing about the other.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you? But I'm frozen. I'm numb. I'm sometimes people will even dissociate. But the third trauma response I think is most interesting, and that is negative altering in our thought and mood. So what that means to me is that when I'm in that difficult area of conflict and we're trying to agree to disagree, and I've had that pattern in my past, I'm going to assume the worst because the worst has happened. And so that's really a challenging thing. That's why I believe strongly in circle backs, because a lot of those agree to disagree arguments, or when we're really not finishing well, or like you said, Bill, so well, a lot of people flood in that moment. It's really hard. Those moments are really challenging.
I think, too, it can happen where you're using or understanding that person as a personal attack towards yourself. Whoa. It's not a personal attack toward me. I mean, even if they use the wrong language, even if they, okay, wait a minute, I don't need to allow this to penetrate so deeply so that I'm wounded. Wait a minute, I need to guard myself and lovingly, patiently respond, rather than it's a personal attack here. It's not a personal attack, it's an opinion. It's this person's, backdrop of whatever. So I think we need to be really careful of that.
So then you're walking away in your head thinking, I'm not getting what I want. We've agreed to disagree, but I didn't get my way.
Then that's where I got to evaluate, why do I need to get my way, right?
That belief system.
Yeah, that belief system it needs to be more, hey, I'm glad I spoke what is true, versus needing to be right or needing to win or getting my way, like you said so well. I think we all do that. That's a very human response, right?
Yeah.
But the reframe is like, was I honest? Was I integrous? Was I curious? Did I do my part? Did I represent Christ well in that moment?
So why do I need to win?
Right?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Why is that?
Oh, Bill, this is your show. I forgot.
No. I just like to chime in there every once in a while.
I think it goes back to what we've decided it means. Like with the mom with the red-haired kid, it's not about the hair. It's about, I need to win so that your future is secure. If I lose this, then, I'm doing this because I love you. And so in that moment, what that parent thinks is at stake is they're actually doing something loving for their child. And for the kid, it feels oppressive because I'm trying to be, this is who I am, and you're not accepting me for who I am. And so again, I think it goes back to specifically, what does it mean to that person if they lose? And I think that can change, don't you think?
I do. I think most of the people I've seen that need to be right in the second half, oftentimes were never right growing up. And now they're going to win. They never won a fight growing up. Now they're going to win every fight. So I just make sure as a parent, that doesn't mean my kid wins and I lose, but I want to make sure, age appropriately, that they get a chance to express their perspective, and not like we're playing nice in the sandbox in a healthy way. Come, let us reason together, it says in the scripture. So I just find it's a big deal, a big opportunity for us parents to invite interactions versus interrogations.
Yeah, so just think of that. If as a parent, we don't allow our child to be heard and understood, and they feel like they don't have a voice. Right. They never win in the sense of having their opinion even understood. Isn't that true? When they grew up, they're going to win every battle now.
My turn now. And there's other people that grew up where they always got their way and the parent was too permissive. remember a situation, maybe I can't remember if I shared this with you, Bill, where one of our kids didn't make the concert choir. And a couple of people came to us and said, hey, you know, your daughter didn't make the concert choir. You tell them what you do for the community. You tell them all that you do for the community, so your daughter makes the concert choir. I said, why would I do that?
Yeah.
She just wasn't good enough. I'm not good enough. I mean, welcome to humanity. And but so there's the other side of the street, too, where if the kid always gets their way and they're entitled and it's always somebody else's fault, boy, and they're in a loving relationship when they're 35, they're going to need to be right because they were never, like, confronted. Like, hey, you know.
Yeah. Right.
So I think both sides can happen.
Mm-hmm. All right. I am looking for a good Christian counselor. How do I get a hold of each of you? Start with you, Todd.
Really creative website, toddmulliken.com.
All right.
And then I'm at threeriversmn.com, spelled out.
THREE, Rivers, MN.com. All right.
Oh, just the MN?
Yep. Minnesota.
Yeah. Bill, I always forget.
Yeah, you're
let me think here.
counselingcare.us.
I think it's counselingcare.us, yes. Counselingcare, yes.
And all of these will be in the show notes on the podcast as well.
Oh, good.
People
Thanks,
that
Wyatt.
want to reach out.
Yeah, awesome. All right, we'll take a break.
We like Wyatt.
Pardon?
We like Wyatt.
Oh, we all like Wyatt. We'll be back in just a minute. Thanks for your comments on the text line. There's some great comments. I like to share them when we come back after the break. We're talking about agreeing to disagree and tools that we're be getting from the Counselor's Corner to keep the relationship at peace and to be in a loving relationship. We'll be right back. Just in time for joining us in the Counselor's Corner, Todd Mulliken, Jenita Pace, and Marcus Bachmann are with me. And we are talking about agreeing to disagree and trying to get some tools to keep our relationships at peace and be in loving relationships where you can agree that you're going to disagree, but you're still going to love one another. And earlier in the hour, we were talking about God's love, and I got a nice comment that says, I have wrestled with the love thing before in the same way. Do you think we are just the vessels through which God's love flows? In that way, it isn't exactly our capacity to love, but God's never-ending supply flowing through us.
Preach. Love it.
Great stuff, isn't it?
That's so
Vessels.
good.
We are.
What a great posture to have.
Yeah. What a great attitude, humility there.
Yeah. In dialectical behavior therapy, you have this skill called the STOP skill, STOP, the acronym. The S stands for stop. The T stands for take a few breaths. The O is observe what I'm thinking and feeling. Holy Spirit, come on in. Oh, that's right. You're already here. And help me know what is true. And then proceed mindfully. And I add this in Christ with what is true. And she just shared what was true.
Yeah.
She just shared what is actually true.
Yeah.
And we can preempt that going into the hard conversation. This is what I know to be true. I know that's going to help me.
Here's another comment. Sadly, in today's culture, there's many young adults who want us to agree with what parents might consider an immoral identity or an anti-biblical stance or lifestyle. How do we agree to disagree on something like this moral issue? Thanks for the show today.
Absolutely. That's the culture says we need to agree. And I think we need to understand the truth is we love people. That doesn't mean that we have to agree with people. So the freedom that we have in the area of parents, if our adult child says, I'm bringing my girlfriend home and we're going to stay in the same bedroom, I love you. In our home, these are the rules. We are not going to, even if they decide to do elsewhere, but in our home, that may be an important decision. And so we can disagree. But we still care. We still have conversations. We can still go to the state fair, whatever it takes. But in the evening, you have two separate bedrooms. That may not be true for everyone, but in our home, that would be a rule.
Well, I know, I worked in the public schools in North Carolina, and I remember being married to a pastor. Then people would randomly come up to me and want to ask, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And sometimes I just told them, I'd rather get to know you. We're jumping way ahead to things, and I'm just so much more interested in understanding your kids and what do you do for fun. And I think there's a point, too, where you realize that the ministry and the way people come to know Jesus isn't through talking through those issues. I really think it comes from relational first. And so I would tell them, like, hang out with me for 10 times and then you can ask me anything. So I would have a
They might not want to ask you. I'm just kidding. They probably really want to ask you that.
So their homuwork would be 10 times.
We go out for coffee. We go out bowling. We do fun things.
I like that.
Because to me, then it's much. I mean, that's how people experience love, is in community, and that's to me that's more important.
I do think what the listeners bringing up so beautifully too, and I don't know if the listener was trying to focus on this piece as much, but like, in general, this generation, I mean, I know when I was, 18 to 25, I had all the answers. It's, I wanted it all. In emerging adulthood, you want childhood autonomy or childhood security. You also want adult autonomy, but I had all the answers. And so I think a lot of youth feel very comfortable disagreeing and are, sometimes coming out hot with that, whatever ideological issue we're talking about, really. And so I just want to validate the listener knowing that that's hard too, just kind of the tempo and the posture of it, if that makes sense. So I think the best thing we can do as parents there is just do our side of the street well and interact and be strong in the convictions we have in Christ and major on that in a very interactive way, but still seek to be curious, even we might disagree. But I think also, like if I have a child that's agreeing differently than I do, then I might have some fears, like you said earlier about the red hair thing. This is different,
It was, similar though, actually.
But similar, right? And so and different people have different kind of hot button areas, right? We all do. And but I think the fear that I might be having, like, well, what happens if they think this, and then this means that, and if you're anything like me, I will tend to get in my what-if house and believe that the worst will continue to happen, versus just trying to stay grounded in what I believe to be true. And I know the book I wrote on parenting, I interviewed a bunch of adolescents, and, hey, what can your parents do different to bring out your best? And all of them said, they didn't say the word congruent, but they, the editor said, hey, you got to have all of this start with the same letter or whatever. So being congruent, which just means, like, I just get to live my life. It was hardest for the kid when the parent said, hey, make your bed when their bed wasn't made. Hey, stop yelling when the parent yells.
Yeah.
So I just want to really encourage that listener to know, like, to major on the fact that he or she gets to be beautifully convicted in their views, but to present that, and they probably are, present it in a way that's really interactive and from a real healthy posture.
Yeah, and
because that matters in the long run.
Absolutely. And I've worked with kids that are going through all those different things, because I just love working with teens. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of parents struggle to give love if they feel like something is so scary. And I remember I had a teen some years ago that was cross-dressing and believed that, his parents did have a limit on love for him. And so when I had the dad alone, I said, what does it look like to hug your son no matter what he's wearing? And he said, I can't do that. And that's the moment when it's like, where is do you have a line where you can't show love anymore? Or is there no boundary? Because we serve a God who doesn't seem to have any love boundaries. Like, he keeps going when it's instinctual to stop. And so I try to encourage parents, whatever happens, never have your kid wonder if there's a boundary in your love.
I think it's important to ask a parent in those situations, how are you showing love to your son?
Yeah.
And it's besides providing financially a home and food. Yeah. And let's face it, those things have importance, but in other ways. And how are you spending time?
Yeah.
In what ways is that time being effective to show your love?
That's great.
Conversations like that allow that parent to have to think beyond the basics and be held accountable.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it can hit anywhere, can it? Home, work, any place where we find ourselves expressing love when our emotions are on edge or we're afraid or we're angry.
Yeah. Bill, I remember you saying this on the show a couple times where in a conversation, whether it's about disagreeing arguments or whatever the conversation is, when we're thinking ahead of time, what are we going to say? in response to that person, I think that is a downfall that so often can happen. It's, I'm not listening. I'm really getting charged up and ready to win this battle, and that person knows it. They sense it versus I'm looking at them. I'm showing them with eyes of concern, you're important and you're valuable, and let me hear what you have to say. And when you're finished, if you ever are finished, which is another matter, I would like an opportunity to share some of my thoughts. I think that's a huge deal of not thinking ahead of time so much. What am I going to say? What am I going to say? It gets in the way of being able to respectfully love that person.
Gosh, this goes right to, I should have the men in my family on this show would have so much to say about me and my conflict resolution problems. But I was in the woods trying to pray and prepare for this conference I'm going to, and my youngest is blowing up my phone with this crazy stuff, and he's accusing me of things, and I'm just getting so mad. And I'm rehearsing the speech I'm going to give the minute I get home, and I've run it through my mind, and I prayed maybe for a minute, and then I decided I had to spend my time just preparing as I'm driving home. And I walk in the door, all this energy, ready to give a speech, and he sees me, hugs me, and says, "I'm so sorry. That was wrong." Well, my speech is ready.
and it's a good speech.
How did you respond? You remember?
I hugged him and I said, "Oh, thank you so much." And
wow,
I need to go for a run.
Yeah, right?
So sometimes people surprise us.
Right?
And,
Love that.
and I felt super convicted. Here's this 19-year-old who was convicted and apologized, and I didn't take enough time to think that might actually happen. I was ready for war.
We're taking turns in the Bible study I'm in, just kind of presenting something that God's working with us on, and just get everybody's perspective. And so they wanted me to do one, and so I just did it on that James 1:19, quick to listen.
Yeah.
And you just said it so well, Marcus. So, but I don't know about y'all, but it's when in a conflict or in a delicate conversation, when I'm on the receiving end, I just got to realize when I'm on the receiving end, my goal is just to try to understand, validate first, which isn't agree, acquiesce, defer. It's compassion first, try to seek to understand first. Because I'm not on the floor. They're on the floor. It's their turn. And that's really hard to do, but it is a big time win when we do that well. It's a big time win. So I have people, and I try to do it myself, and at the end of my devotional practice, just kind of cope ahead, we call it in dialectical behavior therapy. How do I cope ahead for those situations? Be mindful about that in Jesus, and know I'm going to be the very best listener today because I get to, not because I have to, but because I get to, because it's so inviting, it's so disarming.
Yeah, I mean, and
because otherwise we listen to defend all the time.
Yeah, and something that Tim has taught me, my husband, is when I'm talking and I'm really worked up, he'll say, "Okay, honey, what I hear you saying," and he'll repeat it all back to me. And it's incredible when you hear someone else say it. It is calming,
right?
Because they got it, and it kind of does take the fire out. And so, again,
I'd be out of business if men did that.
Tim, are you listening? Thank you so much.
Yeah, let's go. Right? I mean,
yeah.
So he's teaching me.
All right, we better take a short break. We'll be right back with the Counselor's Corner. Great questions coming in. Thank you so much. We'll be right back. We want you to know how grateful we always are for your financial support here at Faith Radio. We, of course, are listener-supported, so thank you for partnering with this ministry and helping us to change lives through conversations that point to Jesus and bring hope. So thank you. You can give your gift at myfaithradio.com. Again, thank you for your support. We're back with Counselor's Corner. Todd Mulliken, Jenita Pace, Marcus Bachmann. And Todd, you said something in the last segment that I made a point in my mind to remember. And maybe it's my generation, or maybe it's the way my mother brought me up, but the relationship was always bigger than the disagreement. Mm-hmm. The relationship was always, you guys just kiss and make up. That's enough. So The relationship was always much bigger than the disagreement. And I'm not sure that's the case today. You disagree, that translates into you hate me, and then our relationship is over.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous culture.
It is.
It's a worldview that says, I, as a human being, I'm most important. And so what I believe in, and you must agree with me. Otherwise, you don't care about me, you don't love me, and the battle's on. It's an argumentative culture that way. And I think we as believers have a mission to change that, to allow people to still have their voice of opinions, but as we listen and as we show that we care, we can, in a gentle way, still strong, say, I have a different perspective, and let's talk about that. I get to listen to you, and I want to. I sincerely want to listen. I'd like you to listen to my thoughts also.
And how important is tone? Because the way you said that just now, Marcus, was very gentle and invitational. Well, I have a different perspective. You say it that way, and it's like, oh, boy, I'm getting defensive again.
Yeah, speak without offending.
Yeah.
That tone matters. And it matters differently to different people, too, in different cultures, different parts of the United States.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there's a couple people from out east, and here we go. Sorry. I did that one other time, and Bill said, don't ever do that again. I might be done. This might be my last show.
Just bring the drinks and drop them off.
Yeah. We still want the drinks.
Mandatory.
But Bill's so right. Tone matters. So again, what is true? The people I love the most, what is true about their story, and how, Paul said, become all things to all people in order to save some, which doesn't mean I'm massively codependent. It just means, like, from my own place of love in Jesus, how am I meeting that person where they're at and speaking without offending, and listen without defending. And the relationship will always matter more than our differences, like you said, Bill. Yeah,
absolutely.
Now, interestingly enough, if we have a situation in business, I think there's somewhat of a different perspective there. If we're dealing with, Delta, you just lost my flight and you're not going to reimburse me. I don't need to be as relational there. I need to be more businesslike. That still means I respect you. It still means I don't raise my voice or become big. But I need to think at that point, I need to think ahead of time as the person is sharing their information with me. I believe, maybe you guys will disagree with me, but there's a difference in a business conversation where my rights are being taken away or unfairly. I need to be strong, still respectful, but I think there's a difference there.
Yeah, I think passive behavior is deferring the right to the other is what we know about passive behavior. So I agree we're not going to be passive. Aggressive behavior is violating the rights of the other. We don't have to do that. But I think asserting our rights with that situation is really important. Be clear and direct. Have you heard this one social worker come out with this book, and it said BIFF, in tough conversations, BIFF. Brief, informative, friendly, and firm. And I think that's what you were saying.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to separate the person from the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think about Jesus growing up in the church. He doesn't come out and share that he's God until he's an adult. So how many dinners did he go to, and how many things did he learn in church that were probably not quite right? And he probably didn't say much. He was so respectful. And even as a 12-year-old, he shares his knowledge, but what a model for us that he can go through as God and not be known as a know-it-all, but as a very humble teacher. That's pretty inspiring. Powerful.
Well, I will conclude this with a verse from Romans 12, which is a great verse. Paul says, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Any closing thoughts on that verse?
That's the verse I used at my Bible study today.
Awesome.
Yeah, It's a perfect verse, right? And again, being at peace doesn't mean we don't have conflict.
Right.
At all possible, I'm being at peace. So I'm trying to seek to make peace. And that's what Jesus said in one of his important, in his Beatitude sermon. So,
yeah, it's beautiful. Absolutely.
I like the fact that it's not always possible. I think we need to keep that in mind. And yet,
if at all possible.
if
right?
at all possible.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's true. Both are true. And we need to be at peace. What a important, valuable principal point for all of us, whether it's in counseling or whether it's in the conversations that we have with others. Be at peace.
Thank you for letting me be on the show today.
I knew that was coming.
You're welcome. I know.
You're
welcome.
Yeah.
So predictable.
Man.
That concludes the Counselor's Corner. Till next time, we're going to take a break and come back. And apologist Greg Kokel is going to join the show. You're not going to want to miss. We'll be right back. Thanks for listening. Programming like this is made available through your support. Information available at myfaithradio.com.